In the glimmering heart of the city, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and wealth glittered like sunlight on glass, there was a hospital. Prestigious, powerful, and feared. Inside its polished marble halls, where lives were measured in millions and time ticked in billions, one man lay fighting for his life. He was Arthur Sinclair, a billionaire whose name commanded respect across continents. But tonight his power meant nothing. He was fragile, helpless, and dying. 15 doctors, renowned experts, specialists flown in from around the world, stood helpless at his bedside. Machines beeped, nurses rushed, and fear crept into every corner. Arthur's condition was baffling. His heart was collapsing. His lungs strained, his body shutting down without reason. The greatest medical minds could not see the answer. Yet, in that same hospital, sweeping floors with a worn mop and pushing his cart through silent corridors, was a man no one noticed. His name was Elijah Brooks, a janitor. His uniform was faded, his shoes scuffed. But his eyes carried something different. Behind them was brilliance untold, a genius sharpened by hardship. He was a man who had once dreamed of science, of medicine, of invention until poverty crushed his chances. But Elijah wasn't entirely forgotten. Because walking beside him, carrying his father's bucket like it was a treasure chest, was his son, Malik, just 15 years old. A boy with an insatiable hunger for knowledge, a head full of equations, and notebooks filled with sketches of machines no one believed could exist. Teachers had called him strange. Neighbors whispered, "That boy's different." But Elijah saw it. He saw the gift in his son, the spark that mirrored the genius he himself had buried long ago. That night, while Elijah scrubbed floors near the emergency wing, Malik overheard the chaos. The doctors were arguing, their voices breaking under the weight of failure. Malik froze. He tilted his head, listening not to their words but to the rhythm of the machines, the irregular beeps, the gasps of a dying man. Something clicked in his mind, like puzzle pieces rearranging themselves into a pattern no one else could see. He tugged at his father's sleeve. "Dad," Malik whispered, eyes wide, "they're treating the wrong thing. His heart isn't failing, his blood is." Elijah hushed him at first. "Malik, don't. These are doctors." But Malik shook his head. His voice was trembling but sure. "They don't hear it, but I do. His oxygen levels, the way his pulse is dropping. It's not his heart. He's being poisoned from the inside. His blood can't carry oxygen." Elijah stared at his son, torn between disbelief and the memory of all those late nights when Malik had read medical journals like comic books, when he had built tiny machines from scraps. He wanted to silence him, but something deep inside whispered, "Listen." Moments later, Arthur's daughter, Isabella Sinclair, burst out of the ICU. Her perfect composure cracked, tears streaking her face. "They can't save him," she whispered. 15 doctors, and they don't know what's wrong." Before Elijah could stop him, Malik stepped forward. His voice, though small, carried through the chaos. "I know what's wrong with him." The room fell silent. Doctors turned. Nurses frowned. A billionaire's daughter blinked in confusion at a janitor's son, daring to speak. One doctor scoffed, "This is no place for children." But Isabella raised her hand. Desperation overrode pride. "Let him speak." Malik swallowed hard. He explained with startling clarity. He described carbon monoxide poisoning symptoms, the breakdown of hemoglobin, how the machines were masking the truth. He proposed a treatment, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, something not even considered yet because the billionaire had collapsed in his penthouse, not in a fire or a garage. The doctors exchanged doubtful glances, but Isabella's eyes were fierce. "Do it," she ordered. Reluctantly, they obeyed. They wheeled Arthur into the chamber, administering pure oxygen under pressure. Minutes dragged into eternity. Then, The monitor shifted. The lines steadied. The rhythm smoothed. Arthur's chest rose deeper, fuller. Color returned to his cheeks. Gasps filled the room. The billionaire was stabilizing. The boy had been right. Elijah stood frozen, tears pricking his eyes as he watched his son do what 15 doctors could not. His chest swelled with pride and disbelief. The son of a janitor, ignored, mocked, overlooked, had just saved a billionaire. Hours later, as dawn painted the city gold, Arthur Sinclair opened his eyes. Weak but alive, and the first face he saw was his daughter's, and behind her, a trembling boy who had saved his life. Arthur's lips parted. Who? Isabella whispered the truth, not the doctors. Him, Malik. The billionaire's gaze lingered on the boy, then shifted to Elijah. In that fragile moment, wealth and titles meant nothing. Gratitude burned deeper than pride. 2 weeks later, the world learned the story. Headlines blazed. Janitor's son saves billionaire. Cameras swarmed the hospital, but Malik shied away from the spotlight. He didn't want fame. He wanted a chance. And Arthur gave it. Not out of guilt, not out of debt, but because he had seen something rare. A mind untamed, a heart uncorrupted. He funded Malik's education, scholarships, mentorships, opening doors that had always been locked. Elijah kept his job, but not for long. Arthur called him brother and lifted him into a new life. Not because of pity, but respect. Because genius, kindness, and courage had risen from the most unexpected place. And Malik, he would go on to change the world. Not for wealth, not for recognition, but because one night, in a hospital where 15 doctors failed, he saw what nobody else could. So remember this. Sometimes the most extraordinary miracles come not from the richest, not from the most powerful, but from those the world never bothers to notice. And if this story touched you, don't forget, kindness, courage, and faith in someone's hidden potential can change a life forever. Subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of hope.